Alrighty, how is everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes. We try to get you to home in on some great theories, concepts, and discoveries that could change your life in terms of improving your mental, physical, spiritual health. This segment is called Your Blind Side, where I uh, try to protect the six of the info warriors, the diggers, anons, truthers out there that are um, providing us with great information, but maybe are not getting the whole picture all the time and maybe exposing themselves to difficulties because of their commitment. And I normally have been talking about how I feel like the info war is moving to a new phase, that the Patriots are in full control, maybe not full control, but substantial control. There are still events that can be, um, affected by the deep state, but they're primarily circling the drain. And the events that we're seeing are choreographed, simulated, and um, reenacted by the deep state, and they are increasingly poorly done so that they can get the attention of the people that are otherwise not paying any attention. And much of this is an insult to your intelligence. And if you get antsy about that, you may want to tune out, but you may want to tune out anyway because you have other things to do rather than sitting around and waiting for uh, your popcorn to pop. You might want to go get yourself another dose of red pills because, with uh, victory comes responsibility. Then you have to implement your agenda on the world at large, um, or at least, some aspect of that. And unfortunately, your agenda, as self righteous as you think that it is, it's not airtight, it's not seaworthy, and it is um, unfortunately unscrutinized. And yes, I am talking about Christianity. Your Christian faith uh, is based on a psychological operation written by the Romans. The Romans are the true authors of the New Testament. And just like everything else that you've studied over the last um, years, from the 20th and 21st century, everything turns out to be a psyop. Everything turns out to be a hoax, a lie, a misrepresentation, a false flag. And unfortunately, the same is true as you go further back in time and even back into ancient days, into the Roman world. The Caesars of the Flavian dynasty of the first century were masters of propaganda. All of the Caesars, masters of propaganda and um, psychological operations. Um, I just have read this book before, but I'm looking at it again, trying to get a few nuggets out of it. And this is a short passage from the first chapter of James Valiant's Creating Christ. At the center of Christianity, according to the first three Gospels, Jesus Christ seems to have made an impossible mistake. While only God knew the precise date, Jesus proclaims that the Messiah, the Son of Man, in great power and glory, would return within the lives of some of the people listening to him. This strange misstatement has caused consternation almost since the expiration date of his prophecy passed. But was it a mistake? What if we take Jesus Christ at his word? In his prophecy, Jesus links the blessed event of his second coming with the destruction of Jerusalem and its famous temple, which we know did in fact occur within the prophecy's time span. Both events are predicted by Jesus to transpire definitively within the living memory of those to whom he made these predictions. Jesus even accurately describes the future Jewish war that would begin in 66 AD and correlates it to the destruction of the temple that was to signal his return in power and glory. The verbal description of the war that Jesus renders in the Gospels eerily mirrors that given by the historian Flavius Josephus of the actual events 40 years later, as the Roman general and future emperor Titus fulfilled Jesus' prophecy right down to the, quote, armies in the clouds that Jesus foretold would appear in the sky before that brutal war's final siege and the temple's destruction. The Gospels were written after the temple was demolished and the Flavian generals Vespasian and his son Titus rose from the east to become emperors of Rome and rule the world as a new era of peace did in fact return, a Pax Romana. In short, the Jewish prophecy of the Messiah had been fulfilled, and so had the prophecy of Jesus. Moreover, the Roman emperors Vespasian and Titus openly proclaimed that they were the messiahs of Jewish prophecy as part of their official propaganda and imperial cults. Few today realize that even important Jewish leaders at the time recognized these pagan Romans as messiahs. Was their arrival in power and glory as princes of peace the advent of Jesus' prophecy? Or is it possible that Jesus' prophecy was written while these Flavian emperors ruled in order to prove their messianic pretensions after they had conquered Judea? In either case, Jesus' prediction in the New Testament may not be the mistake many assume it to be, after all. For decades, based on the striking possibility suggested by this historical coincidence, we searched for further links between the Flavian dynasty and the formation of Christianity. In the process, we found so many connections that they exceeded our most outlandish expectations. At first, we were struck by the sheer quantity of what in this light appears to be Roman propaganda in the Gospels themselves. Not only does Jesus advocate peace with Rome in an age of Jewish rebellion, even calling for the payment of taxes, but he acknowledges the faith of a Roman centurion with his most lavish praise. Indeed, the New Testament thoroughly removes the special status of Hebrews as God's chosen people altogether and opens the whole world to the worship of the Jewish God. Writing in the years just before the outbreak of the Jewish War, Paul himself identifies political rebellion as a sin in the New Testament and proclaims that submission to the Roman government is obedience to God and his own appointed agents on earth. According to the Gospels, Jesus not only calls for an end to the contemporary purity regulations that so alienated Jews from the pagan world, but Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor at the trial of Jesus, vividly washes the Romans' hands of any culpability for his crucifixion. And as readers will see at every turn, Christ's own story seems to have been shaped by the Roman political agenda at the time. Just how much of the New Testament comprises such pro-Roman propaganda? It soon became obvious while searching for an exception to the startlingly pro-Roman attitude in the New Testament that there is no exception anywhere to be found. Most people do not know that the writing of the Gospels has been dated to the era of the Flavian dynasty of Roman rulers, who rose to power after crushing the massive religion-inspired rebellion of Messianic Jews some 40 years after the alleged death of Jesus. Most Christians are also unaware that close friends of these same Flavian rulers appear in the New Testament itself, or that the oldest Christian catacombs were the original burial site of the Flavian Emperor Vespasian's granddaughter, or that her husband would be counted among the first popes of the first Christian church in Rome. Yeah, so then it comes to the point where they actually discover a Roman coin that has the old Christian symbol on it. The Christians actually used the same symbol as the Flavians, a dolphin wrapped around an anchor. And that was the first Christian symbol for used for Jesus for the first 2 or 3 centuries before Constantine changed it to a cross. But prior to that, the Christian symbol was an anchor with a fish or a dolphin wrapped around it. Um, and So literally, the Christians are using Flavian symbols as their symbols. Try to get the big picture here. Figure it out for yourself. Maybe do a little bit of research. Like, share, subscribe, comment, contribute, and come back tomorrow for another episode. Um, Remember to watch your blind side and have a great day.